Thank you again, Mr. Chair and fellow Toastmasters and guests. Leah doesn't really need an introduction, but she was kind enough to send me one. Leah is a distinguished Toastmaster, and she's now working on her second Distinguished Toastmasters designation. And tonight, she's very excited to introduce us to her friend Jacques, who's working with her on this project. She's working on project 3 from the Advanced Communicator Manual, presenting on video when you're the host. And she's had a lot of fun with Jacques putting this together for us. And her objectives for the speech are to conduct a successful interview, to create some questions for that interview, to present a positive, confident image in front of the camera, and to understand the dynamics of a successful interview. I think what she's going to do tonight is something that we can all benefit from. Please help me welcome Leah Cheyne, Future Stars of Today. Future Stars of Today, Leah Cheyne.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Most welcome guests. It is a pleasure to have you at the inaugural episode of Future Stars of Today. Today, we are going to focus on a Canadian talent. By day, he's a regular, mild-mannered marketing guru, copywriter. By night, he has come up with a brand new side gig that is taking the internet by storm. His work can now be seen on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. It is my pleasure and great honor to introduce you to Jacques Viau. Please help me welcome Jacques.
Thank you very much. That's a very nice introduction.
Your work is fantastic.
Thank you.
Would you be willing to share some of it with our audience tonight so that they can see this work that they might not have yet seen?
Sure, absolutely. I actually noticed looking at your group, the work that I'm going to be sharing is some of my virtual Zoom backgrounds. And it looks like a number of you already have a little bit of expertise in how this works. So I guess I'll be explaining my particular spin on how I do this.
Jacques, what was the inspiration for taking on the Zoom project? The Zoom project has brought so much joy to so many Canadians across the land. Please tell us what the inspiration was.
Well, my inspiration came out of the surreal times that we were talking about earlier, actually. And the company I work for, Rakuten Kobo, our CEO decided about 40 days ago, a little earlier than a lot of places, he decided that we would all be better off working from home. And because we're a technical company, we deal in digital content and ebooks and audiobooks, maybe we're fairly suited to work from home, but literally all 400 of us packed up our stuff, went back home to work at our various offices around the country, and that's where we've been ever since. And my team, the creative team, I think we were all feeling it pretty stressfully. I was dealing with a lot of anxiety and worry about what's going on with COVID-19. And the fact that we were interacting more on Zoom and having meetings face-to-face digitally, it was new to a lot of us. And the fact that we could change our backgrounds to make them something fun and interactive really kind of tweaked with me. And I thought, initially I started it as just something kind of silly that I could like boost the morale of my team with. But after a couple of days, a few people said like, oh, could you do that every day? And I was like, well, sure. And then it kind of grew out of my own team to sharing it to Facebook and Twitter. And so I've kind of made a promise now that every day that we're working in self-isolation, I will introduce a different virtual Zoom background to try and just be silly and make people laugh, because I think we could all use a little bit of that silliness right now because everything else is like super serious and worrisome. And if I can take like 30 seconds out of my day to make someone laugh or just shoot a silly picture, then I'm game. I'll do it.
Will you please show us some of your work? It
Sure.
is so phenomenal.
Should I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. Let's try that. And desktop one. Does everyone see my screen right now? You're probably looking at Zoom settings right now.
I see a Star Wars. It looks fantastic.
You see the Star Wars. Okay, so I'm going to minimize that.
And
That is, there we go. That's the first one that I did with my team. And so a lot of companies are sharing their backdrops, like DC and Marvel Comics and Star Wars, and a lot of movie companies are sharing these scenes where you can put yourself right into where you want to be. And I think that's really fun, and I think it's really appropriate for a business meeting to show you're in an environment. For me, what's kind of more fun is trying to take something like a movie or a TV show that people recognize and seeing if you can insert yourself into it.
I see a lot of pop cultural references in your work, and it's fantastic.
So Star Wars was an obvious one, and really all I do is I add a picture that I want from Google into Zoom's virtual backdrops, and then I just position myself in the camera in the right spot. You know, like I kind of have to cover someone, and then I take a screen grab, and that gives me the result. I'll click through a few more if you want to see.
Yes, please.
That was Star Wars. Here's me running away from Adam West Batman. So I'm covering over Robin. I give little, I don't know if you can see the text here because I've got here, I'm just going to hide everyone's faces because I have the thumbnails. I give a little, you know, when I post on Facebook or social media, I do a little explanation of what the picture is. So I was pretty happy with Batman here.
You have Cookie Monster. You brought up Cookie Monster.
Cookie Monster. I really kind of like him I grew up with Sesame Street and the Muppet Show, so it's kind of super fun to imagine that I could be there with Cookie himself, who is my favorite. In this one, I'm imagining that the people from Queer Eye, the Fab Five, are giving me a nice little makeover. Is
that a onesie that I see in that shot?
That is a Superman onesie. I have another one with my my superhero onesies that's kind of ridiculous somewhere along here. This one's a little dark, actually, and I should confess I cheated a little on this one. I was thinking of more like recognizable scenes from movies that I could riff off of. So
this one is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
The woman, this is Janet Leigh from Psycho. So in my message here, I'm saying Marion, that was her character's name. Marion's stressed about our long drive, so I used my phone to find us a place to stay tonight in today's virtual Zoom background. So I say I cheated because after I took this screen grab in Zoom, I did change, because obviously I'm not in black and white. So
what rules do you have for when you do this? Do you have any rules?
I do have a rule, and it's that I need, if I'm going to capture this image and call it a virtual Zoom background, I absolutely have to be in the settings in the virtual Zoom background setting. Like it has to be a virtual Zoom background. I'm not going to just take a picture and Photoshop myself into something random. Like it has to be me in front of the camera in a virtual Zoom background. Otherwise, I would feel like I'm cheating. And in this one, all I did was in Mac computers, you can, if you open your image in preview, you can desaturate the color to make it look all black and white. So I wanted to match the black and white film that was in the image.
Do you have a favorite image that you've done so far to date in all your work?
I do. It might take me a couple of clicks to get to it here. This was from The Shining. This wasn't it.
Okay.
And I've got Wonder Woman. I've been doing this like every day for close to a month now, so I've got a few. I think my Star Trek one here is pretty close to a favorite. My gosh, I'm trying to.
I love the Brady Bunch.
Mission Impossible, I'd say, is my favorite. And I think people who are used to using the Zoom background, they'll know that if you go too far in the camera, you start to disappear. You know, like if you've got a background and you go too far away, you'll start to disappear. So what I did for this picture to make it look like I was hanging off a skyscraper is I lay down on my bed in front of my laptop. So my hand is actually just on my mouse pad. And I remember my partner walked by and he was like, "What are you doing? Like lying down in front of your work computer?" And I'm like, "I'm trying to take a picture." It's very serious. And what I was trying to do and why I look so stressed is I was trying to get my foot into the picture because my foot was too far from the camera. And so it took a little bit of thrashing and kicking to finally get my foot in the camera and to capture the screen grab. And I really like it because it kind of legit looks like I'm hanging off a skyscraper with Tom Cruise. So it's yeah, I think this one might be one of my favorites. But like as I go on, I don't know, like they're all just silly things that I like stuff from pop culture, like Ellen's Selfie, just TV shows that I watch. Here's the onesie one. This is actually 3 separate pictures that I took. I did Superman first on his own, and then I did Batman, and then I did Wonder Woman. Superman and Batman, those are actual onesies. Wonder Woman is a blanket with sleeves. It's a little different.
I wondered if it wasn't onesie or not.
That's why it's not fitting quite so well up in the collar. But I like the superheroes, so the Hall of Justice, you know, that spoke to me. This I did the other day from The Graduate.
Classic. What did you do with Dustin Hoffman?
Thank you. He's right behind me. I'm proportionally a little bigger from him. I think I could see his hands all the way in the picture. But people seem to like that one. And I work with a lot of younger people, and I didn't think most of them would remember or know about The Graduate, but it seems to have gone over well. American Bandstand. You can make yourself look like you're dancing.
How do you take the picture? So you get yourself into a pose, and then what do you use to actually take the image with?
On a Mac, at least, I use my keyboard, because if you do, I think it's Shift-Command-4, you can do a screen grab. The tricky part is when you do Shift-Command-4, it sort of creates the field where you can take your picture, but you have to have your hand on the mouse. So you'll notice in any of my pictures, you won't see more than one of my hands, because the other one is hanging onto the mouse to take the picture.
Okay.
So for this Christina Aguilera one, the image just had her in the studio singing. So all I did was get in front of the camera and position myself just so to make me look like I'm in the room. I don't pay too much attention to like lighting or, you know, like I don't mind that it looks a little homemade. Like to me, that's part of the
this is impressive.
Part of the fun. Thank you.
Absolutely, I love your work. It's fantastic.
Thank you very much.
How did your coworkers take it? Can you show these during an actual Zoom meeting with work or with Toastmasters for that matter? Would you be able to do that?
I've showed, I'm sharing them on social media. So I'm happy to show them on Toastmasters. Meetings at work, it's a little tricky. I think when people see, you know, I post on social media that it's a virtual Zoom background. It doesn't mean it's always appropriate for a meeting, but every so often, if I know it's a certain team or certain people that will respond well to something, I will put up one of my backgrounds. In fact, one of my, a great thing that happened once is I had a Star Trek one you might have seen earlier, where I was one of the 4 Star Trek guys. And one of my colleagues took that picture and made it his Zoom backdrop for our meeting. So when we joined the meeting, there I was with the Star Trek guys, and there is my friend Anton in the meeting as well.
Absolutely brilliant. It's such a great way to bring so much fun to Zoom. I know a lot of people are struggling with how to get creative and how to have fun with it. And you have just shown so much joy and fun in your creativity and in your images. And I can't say thank you enough for this. You are definitely a future star of tomorrow. There is no question. And you're here today and bringing so much happiness to people across the internet.
Thank you very much.
It has been a pleasure to have you as the inaugural guest on the Future Stars of Tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Madam Chair, back
Thank
to you.
Actually, it's not Madam Chair.
Oh.
No?
That's okay.